Episode number 253 of Pro NoCoders Office Hours. I'm your host, Tanya. We're here with our members, Jordan and John. We're going to get started in just a moment, but before we do, if this is your first time tuning into Office Hours, we do this Zoom session 6 times per week for our developer members at Pro NoCoders. And what it is our members can come on Zoom and ask us any questions that they want about Bubble and generally no-code tools. Bubble is where our primary expertise lies. We are adding Xano to that very quickly. We also have some Airtable, and when Cameron's on, he can help with Webflow. So if you have questions about any of those no-code platforms and would like to join the Pro NoCoders developer membership so you can come and ask your questions, you can do that at pronocoders.com. We'd love to see you, see what you're building, and help you out as much as we can. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you?
Good, thanks. Yep.
Good. Let's see. Jordan, do you have any questions for today?
I do have a question. So I've been building out my new app. I think I told you. So it's coming along, just slowly building it stage by stage, and it's coming along all right. But what I was trying to do, and I couldn't figure out how to do it, was I've got a reusable element in the page. And then on the actual main page, I want to have like a floating sidebar, and I want to be able to trigger it from inside the repeating group and make it pop out on the main bar. I couldn't make it work. So
sure. So you're so two ways of doing that. So the repeating group is in a reusable, you said. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, so your reusables have access to their own states. So the page that you're on has access to custom states placed on the reusable.
Yeah.
Right? And then the page and the reusable both have access to the URL parameters. So if you want to trigger something happening on the page from the reusable, the easiest way is either setting a custom state on the reusable and then having a do when workflow on the page that does something when that custom state is changed, or to use the reusable workflow in the reusable to change the URL parameters. And then that will work to, the page will have access to the URL parameters, and you can have a do when action on the page for that as well. Does that make sense?
I'll just pull this. So I'll pull this out and I'll put this on the home page. Workflows. Okay, there's my floating group. So if I was to do it from a state, what workflow would I set?
So you have the floating group on the homepage, right?
Yeah.
Did you just pull that out of a reusable? Because you could have left it in the reusable if you wanted to.
I put it in the reusable because I couldn't get it to trigger, so I was mucking around trying to get it to work that way. But the problem that I had when I put it in the reusable, it didn't stay floating. It scrolled down with the page.
Okay, that's fine. We do that on Ben's app.
Like that?
Well, yes. He has the, okay. So that just might be the setting in your reusable. In the setting in your floating group, it might be floating relative to the top and bottom when you really want it floating relative to the top and right. Can you open up the editor of the... So you're on the home page and you want to go to the floating group. Oh, I thought it was the floating group that was the issue.
Yeah, but I've just copied it, so that's not the one that's displaying. It's actually in this. It's in here.
Oh, it's in there. Okay. So yeah.
I think my preference would be to have it on the main page anyway.
That's fine. So the workflow you want is go to the workflow in the page. Yep, and click to add an event, and you want to do when true. So it's not a custom event. It's general. do when condition is true. And then
Alright.
and the condition will be when that reusable state, so whatever your reusable is called. And then you can create a new custom state here.
Yeah. Okay, and then do the animate. Floating. So
Yep.
it'll be like that, yeah. And then
Yep.
set a state on here.
Mm-hmm. So you'll set the state at the reusable level, and then yeah, you're just calling that state from that click.
What should I call it?
Whatever makes sense. It sounds like it's application.
Application.
And then in the workflow. Yep. Oh, no, click in the workflow itself. There you go.
Will that just trigger once or?
So probably what we want to do is no, so trigger it every time, and then you need to set it to be empty again. So run where it says run this just once, you want that to say every time. And then you want to make sure that when they close or when they probably that's going to fly open. Okay, so the way that we've solved for this before is go ahead and create that custom event. I think that was your initial instinct in the first place. And we can call this whatever makes sense, like application not empty, or however it would make sense to you. And then the type of thing will be applications. And then now you can copy that workflow to animate the floating group in here. And then go back up to the top for that condition, and you can trigger the custom. So delete that and trigger the custom event. And then remember, you have to send in the state, the application, home applications A, application. And then now what you want to do is in the custom event, you want to set the state. So click to add an action. And you want to set the state back to empty. Home applications A, applications, application, and just leave it empty. And so that way it'll trigger it and it'll send the information through, but then it'll reset it in a null state so that you can trigger it again. That makes sense.
Okay, we'll try that.
So it opens, and then if you...
Okay, sweet.
Yep.
I'll need it.
And then
So-
it'll reset, when it opened it, it also reset the thing to empty. So when you close it, you can click on another one and it'll open and it'll be fine.
So that one. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
There you go.
Sweet, thanks, Tanya.
You're welcome. Hey, John, how's it going? Oh, you're on mute.
There you go. Can you hear me
There
now?
you go. Yep, now I can hear you.
Cool. I'll just go with something more conceptual because I've only just started playing with this. So it's more, how would you even start approaching this? So if I share my screen, let me show you. So, right, let's start in here. So this is a slightly different API to the one we've been playing with over the last few weeks. So this is the Google PageSpeed API. And don't ask me why there's a blank value in there. It keeps randomly adding them. But anyway, what you do is you go off and you say, give me a URL. And for that URL, return a load of stats about how quickly that page loads according to Google's testing. What you can only pass it one URL at a time. And the API brings back a lot of data. So it's quite slow to respond. This works fine. And if I go to the design, what I've done is these are just the headings. So I've got what the final URL is, first contentful paint, time to interactive, speed index, that sort of stuff. And then in here, that gets the result from that API. So it goes off. So this isn't a repeating group because there's only one URL to return. So there's nothing repeating, if that makes sense. It just returns one set of data that looks like this. So that's the URL. That's the, let me just refresh it. And you'll see if I hit this just for one item, how long it takes to respond. So you probably sort of 10 seconds or something before stuff appears. And that's just the speed of the API because it's sending back loads of data, most of which I don't need. So that's that. So what I want to do is allow someone to see the data for all the pages on their website. So if you remember in other pages on the site, I go to Google's other API and in effect say, go and get me all the pages you have indexed for this website. And it brings me back various bits of data, but the key one is it brings me back all the URLs it has in its index. So what I want to do somehow is say, okay, fire that, well, potentially fire that API to bring me back all the URLs, and then one by one step through for each of those URLs and fire the API so that I end up getting back the data for each URL rather than just one URL. So I've just started, I literally started on about an hour ago to sort of think through how to do it. So I think I am going to have to start using the database for this because I think what I'm going to need to do is do a back-end workflow to fire that initial API that says, go off and get me all the pages, store those in a database, and then sort of then build another workflow, I think, that says, give me each of those URLs and make an API request. And I'm probably going to have to stagger it so that there's like a second's delay between each one, because I think Google will start to get funny if I just fire like 100 URL requests at them simultaneously, because if I have 100 URLs. So I guess I'm just starting to think through, how would you even start going about doing that?
That's a good question. I think Cameron's going to be on tonight. If you can send me the information of which Google API this is exactly, and like in all the documentation, I want to check with him. So the prettiest way I've seen to do something like this is there's a service called Bright Data that Ben is using.
It's called what? Bright Data.
Bright Data, but I don't think Bright Data is what you're looking for. But the way that it works makes sense.
Right.
We send an API call to Bright Data and we'll send in like 100 URLs. And then Bright Data will go and do the hard work of gathering all of the information for all of those 100 URLs that we sent in. And then when it's done, it will send the information via webhook back to Bubble's backend, or in Ben's case, Xano's backend. So that then we're not playing that, because there's a little bit of a danger, because if it takes Google just a little too long, Bubble will time out and the person will be frustrated, right?
Yeah.
And then you're making even more calls because the person's refreshing the page, which is going to call Google again. So I think if we can set it up in some way to do a similar process where we kick off the collection of the data and then we receive it through a webhook, that would probably be the best for your app. And then you're right in terms of probably wanting to store this information in the database. I'm wondering, like, how important is it for this to be like in real time with the person actually sitting on the page?
I don't think it can be, because assuming that we need to stagger the API request, which I think we'll have to, and it takes 10 seconds per URL, let's call it, then if I can't even do the maths, but if I have 100 URLs, I'll be sitting there waiting for an hour, let's say.
Right.
So I'm going to have to do it in the background anyway.
Right. So I was thinking like an email or some sort of notification. Hey, your information is gathered, and you send them back to the page that then loads the information from the database.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah.
And then the other thing is if you're putting it in your database anyway, you could cache it, right? So you can show them the most recent information, and you can leave it to them to trigger to go get more updated information. Then you just say, okay, we're gathering this information. We approximate it'll take 15 to 30 minutes or however long you think it'll take. We'll email you when it's ready.
Yeah. I'll have a look, because there are some other people doing this. They just do this part. So I'll go in and see how they handle that sort of user experience piece in terms of the time it takes them to gather it. So I'll see how other people approach that problem.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
The only other piece of that would be like you could look like, do you think the purpose of them seeing sort of a repeating group of this information is they're like comparing different pages to each other, or are they looking up the status for like the stats for one particular page?
No, I think the key is, at the moment, it's quite difficult if you're trying to do this yourself, i.e. directly with Google. You can only go in and look at a page at a time on your website. And what people want is show me all my pages, and therefore I can see which are the slowest, which are the quickest. And therefore,
so they're comparing
the slowest ones, I need to work on those to work on the page speed score.
Yeah, so I would probably work towards that idea that you're loading a repeating group from your database. I would definitely paginate it. Like, I wouldn't show more than 25 records at a time, right?
Yeah.
And then it's coming from your database, and you have sort of a last updated, like you're telling them when it was last updated, and you give them a button to refresh it, and then you just tell them, we'll let you know when your new information is ready.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Right, well, I'll fire you over the API details, and if Cameron's able to have a look. So I obviously won't be on tonight, because
no, it'll be the middle of your
2
night.
a.m. or something. So
yeah, no, I got it. That makes sense.
I'll ping you that in Discord, yeah?
Yep, perfect. Awesome.
Okay, cool. All right,
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, Thomas, do you have any questions today? Good to see you. I've missed you.
Hi, how you doing? Yes, I have one question.
Yes.
I will start sharing.
Sure.
So working on a little app here, and this side menu here, when I open it up and I try to scroll, do you see how like the background is scrolling?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out, how do I lock everything in the back from scrolling, essentially, when this menu is open?
Is that a floating group?
Yep, it's a floating.
Can you open it up in the editor?
Sure.
Yep, I think the vertically float relative to both gets you that stretch that you're looking for, but it also means that, well, actually, that's what I was going to tell you to do. So is there content? Go back to the preview.
Yeah, it's just hidden. I still have to figure that out.
Is there more underneath that?
Nope, just this. Well, actually, it's 2 stacking. It's 1 for men and 1 for women.
Okay, but do either of them have? Okay, so go back to the men, I think, or women.
Right now.
Okay, go back to the women. Okay, so the women has a little bit of a scroll to it. Did you see? Yeah, so when you're in the women, it's not. Go back to the women. Stay there for a sec. Okay, and scroll up and down and stay inside of the floating group, like hover over and scroll up and down. So that's the behavior you're looking for, right? Oh, nope, it's scrolling. I do not know how to make it static.
Got it.
If you wouldn't mind posting that question in Discord, Cameron can take a look at it and we can escalate it from there.
Super cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep, no worries. Nathan, hello.
Hi, Tanya. Hi, guys. So I've got I'm hoping this just shakes loose on me. So I have 2 different data things. I have a list of districts, and then I have a list of flags that I just added. And from a spreadsheet, I know there's 4 different flags and which districts that they should go to. But what I'm having a hard time understanding is how to get the data into Bubble, or how do I reference that spreadsheet to run the API to make all of those connections. Like I have everything in Bubble right now, except the spreadsheet is what is kind of the key to what I'm trying to get connected, if that makes sense. So I've done the update, the APIs to update the database and things like that. What I'm having a hard time I just can't even understand where am I putting this data in the spreadsheet to even be able to reference it inside of Bubble.
Okay, can you share your screen?
Yeah. So this is, let's see. Can you see the spreadsheet?
Yep, I can.
Okay. So this is the list of the districts here, and then I pulled the unique ID from Bubble here, and then there's each of these is a flag, and the flag itself has its own ID, and then you can see just basically from this grid which district should have which flag in here. So the 4 flags are created in Bubble, and then obviously the list of these districts are created in Bubble. What I can't figure out is what am I doing with this data to be able to run some sort of an API to say add this flag to this district.
Gotcha. So I would make I think probably what I would do is make a temporary data table.
Okay.
Upload this information into that temporary data table, and then run a recursive workflow to update the actual data table as you need to like add all of the flags, right? So if you go into your, you said you already worked out the backend part of this, the API workflows?
I'm familiar with that. No, I haven't done that yet. Honestly, I couldn't figure out how to even get that data in. I didn't even think about just creating a dummy, a temporary data type. That's what I'm doing, creating a temporary data type, importing all of that in there, doing what I need to do with it, and then just delete that data type.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, geez, that makes sense. I can connect that. What I was trying to do is I don't need to import any of the districts, and I don't need to import the flags. So I just couldn't figure out how I was referencing anything from this spreadsheet, because I already had all the data in there. It just wasn't connected the right way. So
gotcha. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
I mean, if I ever would nail down that API connection between Bubble and Google Sheets or something, maybe we could do it that way. But I think the easiest thing is to make a temporary data table, upload that spreadsheet to it, and then create a recursive workflow to go through each thing in that new data table and go and update its actual district thing in the database.
Yeah, that makes sense. So in the temporary one, I can actually just reference the actual district unique ID.
Yep, because you have the unique ID, so you can just reference that field, the unique ID field of the temporary data table. You can use that to find the correct district. Then you can add the flags that you need to, and then go from there.
Okay.
If you get stuck on that, let me know. We have another office hours this evening, and I can help you with the recursive workflow for sure.
Okay, perfect. That's what I would need. It shook it loose. I appreciate the help.
Hey, no problem.
All right.
John, back to you.
I don't really have any further questions, I don't think. Oh, well, I'll tell you what, I'll ask you this one here. Hang on a minute and I'll share my page. What page was I doing it on? Right, I'll just share a page. Okay, so I won't be able to show you this working because I've bought the URL today, and that's so I've now moved this over to a proper URL, which means I need to redo a load of stuff in the API side, so I won't show you anything. But what I've got working is, let me move you guys out of the way, let me open this up. So normally this is populated data because the API is not firing, there's no data. So we were playing with this the other day. So when I do from to impressions, CTR, rank, etc., that now kind of works, and it does the filtering we were talking about last week, but it doesn't quite do it how I'd ideally like it. So what I'm doing is I'm filtering it here, and it's got all the different things in, which is fine. But what I'd ideally want is I put the numbers in. So let's say it's 10 to 50. And what happens at the moment is it just does that. But what I ideally want is, I think, is for them to hit the apply button before it applies that piece. So that's question.
Gotcha. Yep. So then, so what you would do to achieve that is go back. Right now, all of your references in your filter are to inputs. What you want to do though is make those inputs, make those references to either a custom state that you set when they click apply, or a hidden variable, or a URL parameter.
Okay, so probably custom states is because we already set up some custom states the other week, didn't we? So I'd go in here as an example. So I think I've gone for it. So go in here and I'd say whatever it is, test list shifter, and then say apply impressions clicked is already a state I've got. So I add that. So that's the button is clicked, and then.
So what I would. Yeah, the way I would structure it is I would have one state for each of those parameters that you have right now. So I would have a filter clicks minimum, filter clicks maximum, and so forth for each of those things. And then when they click apply, I would take the values and the inputs for each and set those states. So if they click the drop down for clicks and they put 50 clicks on the minimum side and 100 clicks on the maximum side, when they click apply, I would set the clicks minimum to 50, the clicks maximum to 100. And then that's what's being referenced in that filter. So it won't change until after they click apply.
Right. So just walk me through that again slowly. So create some custom states that are called filter click min and filter click max.
Yep. So let's just go ahead and do that if you want, or do you want me to prototype it and show you? It's up to you.
No, I'm happy to drive. So do them at the page level. Okay. Add a new custom state. So filter clicks min, yeah.
Yep. And that would be a number.
Yeah.
And then filter clicks max.
Yeah. Okay.
And now go to the workflow on that apply button.
Sorry, do I need to set a default value?
No, because I think you are ignoring empty constraints.
Yeah. Okay. So then go back to where I was filtering. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And now you're going to change the clicks are greater than or equal to the.
So clicks are greater than or equal to.
And then you want to find that custom state again.
Tesla shifter.
Filter clicks min.
Right. Okay. And then value, presumably.
Nope. It already assumes the value.
Okay.
Yep.
And then clicks is greater than or less than. Right. Let's do that. Clicks is less than or greater than. Okay.
Yep. And then I would delete the top two.
I might as well delete that one while I'm at it. Yeah.
And then now when you go to now you need to go to where the button is when they click apply for the clicks and go to that workflow.
Yep.
I think that's impressions rather than clicks though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Great naming conventions. They're very helpful.
Well, that or I get completely lost. So, okay.
And then here you would set the state exactly of the test list shifter. There you go. And then,
Okay.
and then yep, filter clicks min should be the input value.
Input from clicks. Yeah.
And then set another state at the same time. Nope, just go back in there and set the other state at the same time.
Mm. Okay.
And then, yep. And then I think, yeah, let's just try that. That should be, well, we can't really try it because the API is not firing.
But in theory, that should work, should it?
Yep, that should work. And the only other thing is you might want to close. I don't like when they click the apply button. I don't know if that focus group closes or not.
I've got it set to toggle at the moment. So basically, they just. So when they hit apply, it stays there, but they just toggle out if they want to.
Okay, that's fine, because they can go and, yeah, that should be fine. That should work.
Okay, cool.
And then in terms of the API not working because you changed the URL, is that something you need to change in Bubble app, or is that something you just need to change on the API?
No, yeah, I need to change it in Google's end.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thomas, do you want to play around in the sandbox and see if we can figure that thing out?
Yep, I'd love that.
All right, let me see here. Because that's annoying.
I know, right? I think it has to do because floating groups just in general don't push anything on the page, right? Situation where we had to put the spacer in the back.
Well, floating groups are meant so that you can scroll up and down the page, but the floating group will stay put, right? So let's not clone it from anything.
I'm wondering if some code could be added, kind of like what Cameron was doing the other day.
Yeah, probably. But I was wondering if we could do it with native
Bubble, yeah.
native bubble. That's what I'm going to try to do anyway. So top left, where's my floating group? There it is. Make it blue. All right. And then both, right? Like that. And I want my page to be long. And then conditional. Then floating group A is hovered. I don't really have any access to the page itself. What does the ID attribute have to do with that? That's weird. But I want to make it so that the page doesn't scroll. Let's put something on the page so we can even tell that it was scrolling. So we don't want to do this when I'm hovering over here. So wonder if we put, let's hide this floating group. And let's take these things and put them in a group. And I should probably convert this to new responsive. That would be the responsible thing to do. So conditional of here when floating group is hovered. I don't have any scrolling things. I don't have the ability to make something not scrollable here. But I'm guessing I would probably have that with the ID attribute here. It's something we could do a little code with.
Right.
I'm also wondering for this floating group. Nope, that made it even worse. But let's just see.
No, it's overflow hidden, I think, isn't it, in CSS, if I remember right?
You said overflow hidden?
I think so.
Yeah.
Not sure whether you need the margin 0 height 100% bit or not. One way to find out.
And then where would I put that? Would I put that on the page?
That's how I've been doing it.
But we don't want that all the time. We only want it.
So you have to pass it the ID attribute. I did this. I didn't do this, but I did much the same thing the other day. Let me just look up how I did the CSS for it. So I can send you this. So so this is totally different CSS, but this is how I called I made it do it only when the ID attribute is the ID attribute you're setting. So let me work out how the hell I send that on Zoom. Hold on a minute. Chat. There you go. So my ID attribute was, so ignore the before business. So my ID attribute was basically stat underscore increase. So if you do style and then hash whatever your ID attribute is, and then put your actual CSS, that applies it only when it's that ID.
Right. So when a floating group A is hovered, I can change the ID attribute of the page to no scroll.
Yeah.
And then I can put here this hashtag no scroll.
Yeah.
And then, just the space there. Overall. Yeah. Okay. So
you might, because you've now lost body and everything else, you might have to work that into the CSS. Well, let's see if that works.
Okay. No. But you also have to do sometimes like the important one, like where you say
exclamation mark important.
Yep. I always forget.
You just put it after each thing. So where you've got margin 0 before the semicolon, sorry, just put exclamation mark important. So margin 0, exclamation mark.
Without the semicolon?
No, leave the colon where it's, so right there, go back. No, go back. That's it. No, after the 0, but before the semicolon.
Okay.
Now, exclamation mark important. And you have to do that for each one.
And hidden. Let's see. That's weird because I did the margins difference. So the CSS is working. You see the difference, Thomas? So if I take the margin and the height out, and I just do okay. So here I'm scrolling. Here I'm still scrolling. So but it was firing when we did the other piece of it, when we had the more margin and stuff there. So
I think I'm no CSS good, but I think you still need to specify the body and everything else, don't you? Because I think I don't think you're telling it what to hide in the overflow. So if you go back to that, the CSS did have, in terms of where you brought it up on whatever website it was.
Here, so HTML body.
I think you still need that. So
kind of excited because it seemed to be working.
So I think, okay.
Well, now it's not scrolling at all.
So I think you need to wrap. So where you've got no scroll, straight after no scroll, put another open curly bracket. Yeah, curly bracket,
Yeah.
and then put another curly bracket just before the closing style tag.
So here.
Yeah, I think so. See what that does.
No.
Stops it altogether now, doesn't it? Mm.
But I'm encouraged by the fact that it seemed to be doing
Some of
quite
it.
a bit of it when we just had this part. So even though it's doing this craziness here,
Yeah.
when I'm hovering over it, it's not scrolling nearly as much as when I'm just over the back. And that's what we're aiming for, right, Thomas?
Sorry. Yep.
Yep. All right. So we're kind of getting there. We just have to play around with these settings.
Super cool. Just screen capturing it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Nathan.
Hey, Tanya, I popped back in real quick. So I imported that data. It's just trying to figure out what my logic is on this back end.
Sure.
What I imported. Can I share my screen real quick?
Yep, of course.
Actually, I want to go to. Can you see the bubble screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, no, I see your spreadsheet.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to drop off, everyone. I will see most of you again on, Wednesday?
Yeah, see you then.
Okay.
Thanks for joining, John.
No problem. Bye all.
Okay. So I'm not sure if it's just not connecting with me. So I imported what you saw on the spreadsheet was the district name, which doesn't matter. It's just for my reference, but then the bubble unique ID, and then for the district, and then the bubble unique ID for the flag.
And each one only has one flag?
No.
It looked like they had multiple flags.
Yes. So the district could be shown one to four times. And I created this district ID could.
Oh, that's smart. I like that.
There's only there's one of four flags, but a district could have all four of them. So if they have all four of them, I basically I created four records.
Perfect. That's smart.
So now on the back end workflow side, what seems to make sense, I'm making change to the district. So I'm changing the district, but ultimately I want to add a flag, but I can't connect the way that I imported the data with. I can't figure out what I'm trying to compare.
Okay, sure. It's I think I have access to your app. Do you mind if I pop in?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I just saw it the other day. I was like, oh, that's Nathan's. And then we only have to do this one time, right? Like this is just capturing your data up.
Yeah, but right? I'm just backloading all of the data.
Got it. Perfect.
That they wanted to add.
All right. So I think what I'm going to recommend here is in the data, we're going to come here. It's the districts that we're updating, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to create a new field, and it's going to be called updated, and the field type is going to be yes, no, right? And so the first thing I'm going to want to do is, first thing I'm going to want to do is just run, how many districts do we have?
Well, total districts are like 300. In the import, I think there's only like 150 or so.
Okay, so how many, there's only 150 in the import. Okay.
Yeah, so there's only a total of 300 districts that could have flags added. Some of them don't have flags. So, I mean, that import was only like 150 lines long.
Got it. Okay. So let me see if we go through here and I go to the sandbox, which I assume is just like a test page.
Yep.
All right, I'm just going to make a quick button here. And what I want the button to do, make a new API workflow. This is prepare. And what I want to do is take, I want to make changes to a list of things. Probably make changes to the first 100 and then go back for the second 100. So the thing I'll do here is I'm going to make changes to, to a list of things. And the list of things are going to be districts. And the list is going to be do a search for districts. And then the thing I'm going to change is going to be this update. And we're going to set it to no. And we're going to do this we're going to do this until items until 100, because Bubble's pretty good about doing 100. We're only going to do that when do a search for districts where the updated is no. Count is greater than 0. Or updated no is less. How are we going to stop this? Because right now it's empty. It's a weird state when you have a Boolean, but it's empty in your database. Like if I go to all of your districts
right
now and I open it up, it's just empty. It's the updated is empty. And Bubble doesn't know what to do with that. So maybe I should change it to be a date instead. Because then I wouldn't have to worry about it. Yeah, let's do that. So deprecate, making sure I get the right one. There we go. And say updated date. Because then I can just refer to it being empty or not. So, okay. So add flags. What we want to do is we're going to send in a list of the flag data here, which is actually going to be the temporary data table that you have. So
temp flag
temporary
import.
flag import. Okay. So we're going to do flags. Flag import is a list. And we're going to make changes to thing. We're going to make changes to where the unique ID is equal to flags first item's unique ID. Nope, where flag first item's district text ID. That's what you called it, right?
The district text ID is the unique ID for the district, yes.
Yeah.
And then there's a flag text ID, which is the.
Yeah, got it. So then back in here, so we're going to search for a district where the flag's first item's district text ID matches the unique ID of the district, and we're going to make changes to that first item.
Right.
The change that we're going to make is we're going to, it's just one, but this is expecting a list, right? Add flags, first items, flag ID. First items. Nope, we're going to have to do a search for flags where the unique ID equals the flags first items flag ID. First item. Do you understand what we did?
I do.
The thing we changed is that district, that first item where that matches, and then we're adding the flag where that matches.
And you
then
have
we're
to,
only,
the things to change, you had to do a search for, because just adding districts, why couldn't you just have put thing that changed district in there?
because it's expecting a flag thing, and the unique ID would have resolved to text, not a flag.
Got it. Okay.
So what we're going to do here is we're going to only do this when the flags count is greater than 0. And then we're just going to run this workflow again. And we'll do current date and time, and then flags. Here we're going to minus the first flag from the list. And we're only going to do this when flags count is greater than 0. And that way it will stop at some point.
Right.
So we're going to send in the list of flags, and I'm just going to go in here because I think it's weird. You see how you have one issue? I'm guessing that's the issue. They never tell you not to do it this way, but then you end up with issues. Yeah. I changed it.
Is it like underscores or hyphens? I see all mine are hyphens, but.
An underscore, it likes underscores fine. It's just being a punk. Why are you being a punk? All right, we're just going to go camel case instead. Really? I don't think it'll matter if it ends up not running. We can change it. So We're going to send in a list of flags. It's going to be a list. We're going to make changes one by one based on that list. When flags is 0, we're going to subtract a flag each time so that this eventually the count will not be greater than 0. It'll be 0 and it'll stop running. And then we can go back to your sandbox page. And on the button, schedule this API workflow to run. There we go. And the only thing is that we forgot to do, which the back end workflow. What I want to do is add flags here. Want to make changes to thing, and the thing I want to change Originally, I put it on the district because I thought we were going to update all of the districts, but it turns out we're not updating all of the districts. So instead, I think we'll put it on the flag itself, and then we'll create this and say updated and make it of type date. And we'll just put current date and time, not flags. Yeah, flags. That's right, because this is the temporary thing. And then we'll know that they've all run when they've all run. So back here, sorry that I did this twice now in your district. We could also update the district with an updated date if you want, but I don't know if you care or not.
I really don't. Yeah, once this is in there, I think it makes sense.
Okay. So now we just have to run it. You don't have any, do you have any safety mechanisms on the sandbox page?
No.
Okay. We can watch them all be updated. See? And then you can go in your districts and you should start seeing those flags. So if we, do you have any modified here? We can add the flag. So see, you have some flags now.
Okay.
Well, I would expect to see more than that, though. Hi, Sander. Why aren't we seeing more? This is just, Bubble has been a real pain with refreshing data lately. I don't know if you noticed, but in the back end, it's just been crazy. Let's see, districts modified. Were these here before?
Chase, yeah, I bet I did add those as I was working on the formatting of things. So those two actually were there.
We're already there. Well, that's no good. So let's go into our logs, into the server logs. Let's go 5 minutes ago. So that's the list we sent in. Okay, if this make changes. So we were making the changes, but Doesn't seem that it was finding that. Let's go back to the back end. Make changes to the district only when flags count as greater than 0. Search for district where the unique ID equals the flag's first item's district text ID. And then the flags. So let's just try this with 2 of them. So if I go into sort by, I want to sort the list on the sandbox page. Sort by created date. Descending, no. So then I go into flags here. And I'm going to go by, these are going to be sorted by descending, yes. Go back here. So these are the first 2 that I want to do. And I see district text. So if I copy this and go into districts, that's, it found one. So 707 to 800, 707 to 800. So that's right. Let's see if we have privacy rules here. Aha. Got it. So I don't have privacy rules on this. That's why I was acting on this. I just made the dumb mistake of in the backend workflows here. I just need to ignore privacy rules here. And in the sandbox here, I need to ignore workflow, privacy workflows here. And then I think it's fine. We can run it again. So let's preview. Your privacy rules hard at work, Nathan.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. And then delete this. Let's go to districts modified. Here. Should see some more. Well, now we're ignoring the privacy rules, so that shouldn't be happening. It still doesn't seem to be making the change to the district. So it looks like it's finding the district. It might not be finding the flag. So let's go back in workflows here. Search for flags where the unique ID equals the flag's first items, flag text ID. So we put the flags in order of how they are here. So if I take the flag text ID and I go to flags and I put, didn't you say you had 4 flags?
Yeah.
But it's not finding these.
Oh, those numbers are, oh geez. Okay, so those numbers are from the live version because I was setting it up, the import for the live version.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So ostensibly, it will work when they find it. It's just it wasn't finding. The first problem with privacy rules. The second problem is it doesn't have those flags in. So what we could do is we could import the flags back into.
Yeah, from live into development.
And I think they'll have the same unique IDs, but I don't know. I've never tested that before.
I'll do it real quick.
Okay. Hey, Sander, how are you?
Okay, I ran that.
I feel like something happened. Let me refresh.
Yeah, I see them. I'm checking see if they have the same IDs right now.
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, cool. One more time then. Go to Sandbox, famous last words. One more time. And then app data, and we want modified districts. Yep, see, we're getting them.
Yeah.
We're already seeing them populate.
Yep. Okay.
Yay, we got it working.
So it should, I guess when it goes cycles through it, it'll add. So if there's more than one per district, it'll add to that list. And
yeah, you should start seeing them as it finishes out. It should start.
Yeah, because I did them all one flag at a time. So
that's smart.
The second, third, fourth flag would be at the bottom of the list.
Yep, you can see here.
Yep, perfect. Okay.
That's cool.
So in theory, so I have the live version IDs already. So I update development to the live version. I can run that sandbox page just like you did on the live version, and it should run through and populate.
Yep, if you deploy this version to live, then you'll have that button in the sandbox page on the live. And then you just need to make sure that you copy this table over to the live as well.
Okay. Does that happens when you deploy it, right?
No, it doesn't. The development and live databases are completely separate. The only time they ever copy over is
I have to copy the data from that import into the live version.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay. Ish. Well, that was more than just unsticking it in my head. So I appreciate you getting through that.
I'll
run it just to get everything done, but then I want to go back and I'll kind of dissect it. I mean, these are the concept always makes sense for me, but it seems like I get stuck every single time just trying to think through the logic of it. So
that's all right. That's what I'm here for. And I
Perfect.
love recursive workflows. So.
Yeah, I know you do. That's why a lot of times I just try to spend the 10 hours and figure it out, but I knew you would probably have a quick fix to this one. So I appreciate you popping back in and helping me out.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
All right. See you
All right.
later.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Sandra, did you need help? All right. Well, we are going to move into the after hours portion of office hours, which is the part we reserve for things that cannot go on camera and be broadcast to the rest of the world. If you would like to come and ask us questions in office hours for Bubble stuff, for other stuff, please do join us at pronocoders.com, the developer membership.